Oh boy, I can't wait to enter the Aetherian archive and... Hey guys, sorry for being 20 minutes late. What's a CP again for Aetherian archive? Hey guys, thanks for checking this video out. My name is Nephis and I'll be showing you guys more or less optimized champion points to tackle on veteran Aetherian archive as a DPS, tank, or healer. For blue CP, as that is very dependent on what your group is like, such as how much penetration you're getting as a DPS, or what your preferences are as a tank or healer, I'll just be telling you guys general stuff in regards to blue CP, like, oh, for Aetherian archive, you want the off tank, for hard mode to DPS up until the mage, stuff like that. If you guys don't want to listen to the explanations behind these CP setups I have provided links to the graphs below in the video description. You can access anytime to share with your friends or your raid groups from this video or in my personal Discord. Now let's begin with the red CP. So the key point with red CP is to identify incoming damage and pretty much putting the points towards that. So in the Aetherian archive, as a tank, as a main tank, you're going to have actually a lot of direct damage on you, including the stone atro, the axes for sure on the mage fight is a big one, and a lot of people misunderstand what the ironclad is. So ironclad does not reduce your damage taken against damage over time effects. That's what thick skin is for. So this is only for like heavy attacks, light attacks from mobs or bosses, plus any burst damage that's going to come to you. And now there's no real, from what I've tested, there's no real big difference between having 81 points in Ironclad or 72 or 73. You can do either 23 or 24%. Either way, you're going to be tanky as fuck. For the Lady Tree, we have 49 Hardy. This is again not necessarily for the Stone Atronak and Veteran Aetherian Archive because he doesn't hit that hard. It's more for the axes for the Mage hard mode or just the regular Mage fight, because the axes can definitely hit pretty hard still, especially with their heavy attacks, or if you have a block down for whatever reason, this can definitely save you. 64 LE Defender, so the Elemental Defender is very helpful because the majority of the incoming damage in the Aetherian archive is magic damage. So the Mage Lightning Chain, the Storm Atro Explosions for hard mode, the Meteors for hard mode, pretty much the Growing Black Holes for the Mage fight is also magic damage as well, and Storm Atro is also magic damage if you want to risk standing out in the storm for a little bit longer. And Valerio is also magic damage, so there's a lot of magic damage, and this will completely pretty much mitigate whatever you have with the magic damage in Aetherian archive. So the thick skin, you can do a bit lower, like 19% or 20%, but if you don't really have anything else to put into any other tree, this is pretty much going to be your setup. Otherwise, if you feel like you need a bit more quick recovery for more healing receipt or something, or for whatever reason you think your physical resistance is not enough, which it is, even without anything into heavy armor focus for the axes, you'll generally have anywhere between 20 to 22% thick skin. So thick skin counteracts the growing black holes for the Mage hard mode fight. It also does affect your damage mitigation in those chain spinner AoEs for the Stone Atronak. And that is pretty much it. There aren't too many dots in Aetherian archive. I believe someone once said the mini mages that spawn on the mage fight are also dot damage, but I'm pretty sure that's direct damage. So this is your optimized CP or optimized red CP, and I will be moving on to the optimized green CP for the main tank. So as a main tank, you are going to have, obviously the Arcanist is going to be preferential. Are you going to run more Magicka recovery, or are you going to just rely on balance? Either way it works, so depending on whether you want more magic recovery to stack on top of your existing magic recovery, then go with Arcanist. If not, you can do like 75 tenacity or something like that, or put the other points into the other trees as we have here. Personally, I rely on balance as a main tank in AA, so I won't have any into Arcanist. I will have pretty much negligible magic recovery anyway, so there's no point in putting points into this for me. For the tower tree, just in case you do get crowd controlled by the axes and you have to break free before another heavy attack hits you, I highly recommend at least 15% into Warlord, so you're going to have around 42 points into Warlord. And for the Sprinter, obviously this is just to help you move faster with the group, since you can't always keep up with the group. And this, just cost reduction for sprint is pretty nice in general. You do not need any bashing focus because there's nothing to bash in the Aetherian Archive. Yes, you do have those pesky melee ads that channel and drain someone, but that's not really a huge deal. The overchargers, which are the more serious elite ads to tackle on, they don't have any cast animation you can bash, so this is just not needed. Siphoner, pretty self-explanatory. You're not going to drain the boss's health, magical, or stamina resource recovery by any percentage. Mooncalf, again, with these three, it's kind of preferential as to what your build is. And for the Shadow, dodge roll cost reduction is always good, just in case. You do, of course, if you're standing on the rock as a main tank, or even in other situations where you need to dodge roll out of AoEs, the cost reduction is pretty nice. I highly recommend you go, depending on what your stats are like, at most 81 points in the Shadow Ward as a main tank, because 100 points in the Shadow Ward is not really necessary. It's only if you really don't have anything else to put into, but depending on how many sturdy pieces you have and so on, you're gonna have at most 24% block cost reduction in CP. Now as a main tank in blue CP, in general, you're just not, it doesn't really matter. If you're gonna go with more DPS spec and with a bow or a two-hander on the back bar, then yes, you can set up for your DPS spec. Otherwise, whatever. And now for the healer CP, it's going to be slightly different from the main tank CP, obviously. So this is going to be it. You have 72 into Ironclad, we explained that earlier. Instead of having so much into Hardy, because you're not going to get hit anything that's physical, except for the Stone Atronach stones he throws at you, which is very easily mitigatable with just a simple block. You won't have any points into Hardy for the Aetherian Archive as a healer. You'll have 76 Ellie Defender, 66 Thick Skin to help with the black holes on the mage fight, and everything else you can dump into Spell Shield. So take note that 650 spell resistance is equal to roughly 1% damage mitigation, and you have to add what you get out of the Spell Shield from here onto your existing spell resistance with Major Ward and Major Resolve up. So this is pretty good. This is about, let me see, about 5 to 6% damage mitigation, or actually it's actually even more damage mitigation. Never mind, sorry. And so that's a lot of damage mitigation against black holes, storm matter explosions, meteors, Valerial AoEs if you stand in them for whatever reason. Storm Metro, Lightning Storm, that's pretty much it. It's pretty simple. Obviously you won't have anything over here. You don't really need more healing received. There's no healing debuffs going out. Obviously you're not going to be really wearing heavy armor as a healer, since you'll be wearing light armor most likely with Olorime. Bastion, you don't need it unless you really feel like you do, but you generally don't. Expert Defender, again, you're not PvPing, so you're fine. Green CP for the healer, just in case you do get CC'd by the falling meteors or by a stone from the Stone Atronach, I highly recommend 50% block cost reduction with 37 points to the Warlord. Of course, in general, I think a lot of healers have the same exact setup. You get, because you don't really have much else to put into for Vet Aetherian Archive, you don't need to bash anything, you don't really need to sprint too much. If you do run out of stamina while sprinting, it's not a big deal usually. So you will have 76 Tenacity, 76 Arcanist, the Arcanist to boost your existing magical recovery. And this is different from the main tank setup because, again, the main tank can either have high magical recovery and you can put points into that, or you won't have any because you're relying on balance from the Mage's Guild skill line. For the Shadow Tree, you'll have 34 Tumbling and 37 Shadow Ward. The 37 Shadow Ward will help you block the meteors, and if you do need to block cast a couple things, like you're getting hit by a Storm Atro for a couple moments and you get a meteor on you, this will help you conserve your stamina quite a bit. And Tumbling, just in case you are stuck in a really shitty spot for the mage fight, or something like that, you can use tumbling for sure. It's a very efficient CP perk. So I highly recommend it. For blue CP, obviously you want healing done, and that's pretty much it. If your group wants you to have a DPS spec, because that's what a lot of competitive core teams do. They have one solo healer and one healer that's a Nightblade heal and DPS at the same time. That's what you can do as well. Otherwise, that's pretty much it for the healer. And for the DPS CP, it's going to be pretty much largely the same as a healer CP. Honestly, if you feel like you're dying a lot to the stone after stones, it's more likely that you're standing too close to someone who's also getting the stone and it's doing splash damage on you. But otherwise, you can put a bit more into Hardy if you like. But honestly, you need optimally speaking, you don't need any Hardy as a DPS. So that's pretty much it, and it's going to be pretty much the same thing as a healer spec, so this is pretty much the same exact thing. If you feel like you need something else, by all means feel free to change it up a bit, but this is in general how you probably want your DPS CP to look like. And as a bonus, for the off-tank CP, if you're not going to have the main tank solo tank, the axes and the storm macros on hard mode, we are just going to have pretty much the same CP as a DPS as an off-tank. As the off-tank, you won't really have the axes on you because the main tank will have them, unless again the main tank is going to be soloing everything and you're just going to be DPSing as the off-tank, as a so-called off-tank. For the green tree, it's a little different from the DPS and the healer because you are tanking. Again, this is preference for the Arcanist, especially if you think you need it, or if your build needs it. In general, you'll have 76 tenacity, you'll have 66 warlord, you don't need to bash anything, you don't need to sprint anywhere, you're kind of just holding the mage and the storm macros in one single spot where everything can be cleaved down without the risk of, your group getting lightning chained. So that's a pretty dangerous thing, the lightning chain. In fact, movement is highly discouraged at certain times, but otherwise you can move freely about before chain lightnings the group. And the 37 tumblings is there for the standard 50% cost reduction, and again we're going to have at most 81 into Shadow Ward for the 24% block cost reduction. Of course it can depend on how many sturdy pieces you have, so the more sturdy pieces you have, the lower you can go and put it elsewhere into a different CP perk. And that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and again, I'll be doing this for other trials and content. If you guys have any suggestions or questions, let me know down in the comments below. If you think, if you have only like 300 CP or 500 CP and you want me to customize the amount of CP for you, then you can ask me anytime in my Discord.